up, everybody? I love that intro. Here, Rob Live, back, live in effect, full direct, right here. I want to talk to you guys a little bit because I don't talk too much about this, but it's really nice when you guys like and subscribe. That really supports what we're trying to do here. And today we have another fabulous guest, Kings County legend. Ooh, I'm going to build it up really big here. DWAYNE Trussman TUBBS, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
Oh, let's do the long reach there.
Good to be here.
So, I think it's been about a year since I've seen you, maybe a little bit longer. You made the big announcement that you were retiring from education after 33 years.
33 years in the classroom, yes.
Oh, in the classroom. And
before that, I was a walk-on coach, and before that, I ran the Campus Life Youth for Christ Club at Hanford High.
Campus Life?
Yes.
I'm a Campus Life guy.
There you go.
Oh, my God.
Yes.
Can we get the DJ? Yeah. Campus Life. Okay, so I want to start from the beginning, as I always like to talk a little bit about people's origin.
Okay,
I spoke to you a
I
little
was
bit.
born on a Sunday.
There you go.
It was rainy. No, let's not go back
I was
that
really
far.
into it. I was like, really? He knows. Okay, but I want to explain to the audience a little bit about that, because I don't think I've ever shared why we talk about the beginning. I know Jim always talks about, hey, you're always going with when they were born and when they started. But as I told you off camera, I think it's important for viewers to understand that we all start somewhere. And it's not always glamorous. It's not always pretty. It's not always the best of situations. I know, I may get this wrong, but I know Oprah Winfrey at an early age, I believe she was like 13 years old, and she had a real tough childhood. I don't remember if she was pregnant or not. Do you know a little bit more about that?
I don't know if I know more. I know that.
Yeah, right? You heard the same thing.
She got attacked, and yes.
Yeah, so that's a tough start, and ended well. And not to say that yours is tragic, right? But I think it's important to hear where people began. So your story begins in Kings County, correct?
I was born in the big metropolis of Dinuba.
Dinah.
There you
no
go.
way. I went to Dinuba High, Emperors.
There you go. The little church across the street.
Yeah.
My dad was the pastor of that church.
Wow.
Yeah.
The TUBBS
And
runs deep in Dinuba. I
And
would have never.
We moved from there to Hanford when I was 18 months old.
Okay, so let me do my teacher math. A year and a half?
Yeah.
So you don't have any recollection of
No.
foster frees and fiestas? And did you ever go back? Do you have any family where you'd go back to Dinuba?
No, but because of the church connection,
Yeah.
Dad that's the Church of the Nazarene. Dad moved to the Church of the Nazarene in Hanford. So we had district events and stuff and things. So yes, I got back enough to know that the streets weren't straight in Dinuba.
So you were the son of a pastor,
Yes.
son of a preacher man.
Yes.
That's not the song though, right?
Yes.
Is it? Yeah, son of a preacher
The
man.
only boy who could ever reach me was the son of a preacher man. That was written about me.
There you go. So okay, so you start, and now you're in Hanford. Where'd you go to elementary?
Started at Jefferson, part of the integration process with the busing of the 60s. I got bused over to Lincoln on the south side of Hanford.
So this is the 60s.
Yeah, would have been third grade.
And so what was the integration plan for us locally here? That meant that if I was a kid from another part of town.
Yeah, I don't know the details. I just know that they did busing to integrate the schools.
And so you end up at Jefferson. My daughter goes to Jefferson. Were you guys the Eagles back then?
Don't even know if they had the mascots back then.
Okay, so it's Jefferson Aguilas now, which is a
Okay.
dual immersion school. My kids went there.
Okay.
Right, Aguilas. But that's crazy.
And
It's
then,
been around that
so
long.
that was only third grade. Then we moved and ended up at Lee Richmond. And then
Richmond, okay.
And then Woodrow Wilson was the only
Woodrow.
junior high in town.
Yes, I went to Kings River Elementary, and we'd come to Woodrow once a year to wrestle in the cafeteria at the big mat. Were you
Yes.
were you a wrestler?
Not on the sports team, just with my girlfriends.
Woo, we're gonna have some zingers today, Jim. We're gonna get some zingers. I like that. Okay, so then junior high. Then now you're in Hanford High, right? You're a bullpup.
I'm a bullpup.
Now, did West even exist at that time? Hanford West High School.
The West Campus did.
Okay, but it wasn't.
It was all Hanford High.
Okay. Now, was the building also red and You know how all the buildings at Hanford High are red with red and black or red and white?
Didn't have school colors on campus for the most part. No.
Oh, okay. So that's all new.
Yeah, that's all campus upgrade stuff.
So you go to high school, and I always ask people this because I'm a high school teacher, as were you. Who was DWAYNE in high school? Was he the athlete? Was he the ASB? Was he the band? Was he all of the above?
None of the above and all of the above. I was in band,
Okay.
so we did the band thing. I played basketball mostly, little swim, little track. So I was friends with the athletes. Was friends with the academic folks. I'm not sure why. Don't know. That one didn't fit, but
How were your grades?
not as good as most people thought they were. I remember somebody when we were getting ready for graduation asking me if I was the valedictorian, and I was stunned because my grades were completely mediocre.
Okay.
I tell people that when I was in high school, I made straight A's all 4 years of high school. My B's were a little crooked, but I made straight A's all 4
I'm
years.
using that. I'm using that one. Okay, so you kind of dabbled in all the groups. You had the band, athletes. Now you said that you lost your opportunity at a varsity letter as a freshman on the swim team,
Yes.
and that was due to a very unfortunate series of events.
So I was sitting in class one day. The principal comes to the door and asks for DWAYNE TUBBS. This is my freshman year. And my response, because I had just been listening to the musical Jesus Christ Superstar, my response was, "What's the buzz?" And he said, "Come with me." And it turns out that there was marijuana in my locker. Somebody had told him that was there. They went and found it. I didn't know anything about it. I was very naive when it came to drugs. But while we got all that sorted out, I was suspended from school, being put up for expulsion back then.
Wow.
Marijuana
Now,
gets
had
you
you ever
expelled.
been in any level of trouble prior to that?
No.
This is
no.
your first offense, and you're about to be expelled, and must have been kind of traumatizing for you to just go from hanging in class to almost like done.
Yeah, I was shocked. We were looking for schools that might take me,
Oh, my.
Porterville or Visalia or something, if I could go. So
How
we-
long did this ordeal last?
probably a couple of weeks. We had to get a lawyer. Lawyer just had me take a lie detector test. When the results from the lie detector test came back, the guy said, "This kid doesn't know anything about drugs. He is not your guy. He's so naive, it's painful."
Wow. Well, I'm glad you got reinstated, but you did lose your opportunity at a varsity letter and swim.
And if that's the worst thing that ever happens to me in my life, I'm doing all right.
That's a great perspective.
Yeah.
I love that. Okay, so you get through your freshman year, right? You also said you played basketball.
Basketball was my main sport. Yeah.
And so you played that all 4 years.
Only 3 years. I didn't play my senior year. I had my knees. I played baseball and was a catcher, and it screwed my knees up a little bit. So I wasn't able to go out my senior year.
Oh, man. Did you get to play any sport your senior year, or you were just kind of done?
I think I swam my senior year. I think I was still swimming.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, at that time, because, not every athlete, but most of us, Jim's very self-aware. He had told me that because he played football in high school, right? And he dropped out one year to become the mascot for the school. Now, my mindset at that time was like, no, I got to put in all 4 years and, see if I get any offers, But Jim said he's very self-aware. He's like, yeah, I'm not playing beyond this.
That bothers you so much, doesn't it?
It does. And I think for me, I think I have this problem in my head where I think that if someone's good at something, that they have to pursue it to its fullest extent. And the reality is that sometimes, even if we're good at something, it doesn't fulfill us. So why pursue it?
If it's meant to be,
yeah,
it'll happen.
I know. I'm going to therapy. I'm trying to fix this. But yeah, I was always that kind of guy. Like if I had any inkling of talent at something, then I had to concern myself with the furthest I could go, because otherwise it would be doing a disservice to that. And I realized that I wasn't happy with most of the things I was trying to push myself to do, because even though I had maybe a natural tendency to be good at it to some degree, it didn't bring me joy. It was just this idea that I'm going to waste this talent. And so, yeah, Jim, it bothers me that you were that good at football and then just became the mascot. But I applaud you. Can we get some applause?
Yeah, get some applause there. Yeah.
Yeah,
There you
right.
go.
And so I'm kind of feeling the same vibe here. You were like, yeah, the body was hurting, and that was it. And I was at peace with it.
Yeah, sort of interesting. I would be the polar opposite of where you're coming from. I got joy from all those things, so I didn't need to excel at any of them. I remember as a kid, my mom one time asked me what my favorite sport was, and my answer was whatever season it is.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
It's a good
Wow.
answer.
Okay, you guys are slowly helping me realize that I drove all my kids from sports. It was
Missed
me.
out.
In the end, it was me, because my sons just walked away from baseball this year, right? But I think it was that whole mindset I had that, you're good at this, and we got to take it as far as we can. And I think it kind of sucked the joy out of it, right? Ooh, live therapy right
There you
here on
go.
Rob Live.
There you go.
Thank you, therapist TUBBS, for leading me to that. Also, Assistant Chance. So you get through high school, your senior year, you're done with everything, but band, trombone, correct? Or
Trombone was my main instrument. Any of the brass instruments and a tiny little touch of piano.
I'm envious at your approach to this whole high school thing, because I'll tell you where I went wrong. John Hughes films, you got John Hughes, the director.
Yes.
Viewers, 16 Candles, Weird Science, Breakfast Club,
Ferris Bueller.
yeah. Right? All these teen movies. So I watched all of those approaching high school, and I thought, okay, that's what high school is going to be like for me, right? But I didn't realize that was happening in suburban Chicago, right? It was very different from Dinuba. And so I get to high school with this vision of, I've got to be this and that and the parties and whatever. I wanted it to match the movies, and that's just not reality.
Yeah.
And so I was always feeling like I was trying to recreate what I'd seen on camera versus just enjoying what was. You seem to be very at peace, like just deriving joy from whatever you were doing at the time. Where does that come from?
Well, now that's an interesting question.
Were your parents like that, or?
Mom was more so than dad. Yeah, I'm not sure where that comes from. That's been my personality forever. I think it's just
Even now,
how I'm constructed.
because like now you're like, I get joy from voiceover work, and there you are.
Absolutely.
Which is like that's a big jump, right?
I am very fortunate to be in the position that if something doesn't give me joy, I don't have to do it.
Wow.
And that is a super fortunate position to be in.
Yeah. Financially responsible,
Yeah.
I feel, right?
Yeah.
I'm on the edge of the so with that being said, you kind of just lived your life and went with what you derived joy from, and do you feel like you ever had any additional pressure from yourself or others to have to do something?
No. It was more so. I have two older brothers, 7 and 8 years older, so there's a big gap there.
Okay.
My middle name actually shouldn't be Trustman; it should be Surprise. And everything that I wanted to do was something that they had done.
Okay.
So it wasn't a case of pressure to achieve something. It was, oh, I want to be like that. Oh no, look, he did that. I want to be like that.
So you looked up to your brothers. Okay, that makes sense. And but you were also comfortable walking away when that time had passed, right? Did you ever have any trouble hanging on to something like, man, I wish I could do another year, or even Jim? I'm gonna throw Jim out there. After high school, he threw his hat in the circle to play some football for at least a year, right?
About a year, yeah.
So,
Didn't like it.
and then you were done. Was there anything that you thought past high school, I'm going to just try to pursue and see how far I can take it? Or was it like just, that was an experience, I'm moving on, and that was good?
More the latter.
Okay.
And then just, that age-old thing of trying to figure out what I wanted to do. It wasn't a case if I had something, I'd really like to go after that.
Yeah.
It was a case of, what do I want to do? I had lots of opportunities. I could chase pretty much whatever I wanted to chase. And it was just a case of figuring that out. And I changed my college major like 7 times.
Oh, okay.
Well,
Yeah.
I was going to ask him, like, when did that thought come into your mind? Was it during college base or were you in high school? Because I knew in high school what I kind of wanted to do, but I didn't really know how to get there, and then I just let life progress and lead me in the way where I am now.
It was,
Because mom and dad would say, like, why do you keep changing your major? It's costing money. What's going on?
and my mom and dad didn't care about that because I was paying my own way. Mom and
there
dad
you
didn't have any money to contribute to that. So, no, it was at the end of college. When I came back from San Diego, my first year in college was in San Diego. When I came back, I started running the campus life group over in Visalia, came over to Hanford, and thought I was going to do campus life. I was going to become a director for campus life and do that.
Like Bruce, Bruce Smith? He's the director. He's out of Danuba.
I have met him once or twice. He was after I was out before he came in. So I did that and had great success. I loved doing that campus life. It was awesome. But part of what I did to get on campus was to help coach the basketball team with Walt Parker. Love Walt Parker. What a beautiful man he was. And decided that, okay, I'm not going to do the campus life thing. I'm going to do the coaching thing. And to be a coach, you've got to be a teacher.
Okay.
So continued the school to get my teaching credential and became a teacher. So it was way late.
Okay.
Because it took me 10 years to get my degree.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Good times. You like, what was his name? The kid. There's a college movie out. Ryan Reynolds. He does like 9 or 10 years.
Gotcha.
And, remember him with the scooter? What's his name? And he had the time of his life. And he's like, where am I going to go anywhere else? This is great. So I want to go back, take a step back for a second. Son of a preacher man.
Yes.
So just a very human thing, right? That if we meet someone and you find out that their father is a pastor, preacher, whatever, right? Immediately we assume and throw certain standards. He's got the Bible memorized. Don't cuss in front of him. He's going to be perfect. Did you feel any of that pressure?
Not as pressure, but definitely
An expectation, a standard?
Yeah, definitely felt that. But it was one of two. It was either that or he's the rebellious kid. That's it. So it was either expectation. And the funny part about that is the 2 older brothers, when they were in high school, one of them was more one of those and the other was more the other.
Oh, I see.
And every class I went to where they had one of my brothers before, I knew which brother they had.
Oh,
by how they treated me.
You're a TUBBS, huh? Okay.
Yep.
Put him in the front. Put him in the front.
And I remembered that when I was teaching, I kept that in mind. When those kids come in, anything, I don't know anything about them.
Blank slate.
Yeah, yep.
No, that's
because
fair.
I definitely got treated differently depending on which brother they had.
Or do you think any of that treatment was just based on the fact that you were the son of a preacher?
I'm not sure. I don't know.
I know. Okay, so I had the unique experience where, I was going to Koinonia,
Mm-hmm.
and then one of the pastors on staff, his son was in my class, and I remember thinking to myself, like you, hey, let's keep everybody blank slate, right? But as a human, it does cross your mind a little bit. You're like, oh, okay, so this certain individual comes from a different background, and I think that's what made me a better human, is being a teacher. It really is, because you have to think about things like that for normal everyday people, they don't have to consider someone's background or necessarily you don't have a body of students that your treatment or your standard or expectation or your biases is going to affect in that way. And so I always tell people that I think being an educator made me a better human being. Would you agree with that? Or
I think that is true for any good educator.
good educator?
Seriously, if you're
Yeah.
a good educator, it absolutely is going to make you a better person.
Yeah.
If you're not,
Yeah, you're right.
maybe not.
I think that there was a lot of old school teachers I had growing up. I don't know if you guys or Jim, you had those teachers like, this is who I am, folks. And you just deal with it, and whatever bias I had, it was just unfiltered and you guys just had to deal with it. And I made the argument that those guys helped me as well. You know why? Because there's a lot of people in the real world who are just like that. They're not going to consider your obstacles or your diversity or your background. They're just gonna be like, hey, you want to work here? Okay, here's the rules. Fall in line.
There's also a lot of people that get into education that I have no idea why.
Summer's off.
Yeah, no, well, it's
You talking about those guys?
The opposite is like you honestly act like you hate kids.
Yeah.
And you're like an educator. I don't get it. So yeah.
I have seen those, but gratefully, I wouldn't use the word a lot. Your experience obviously different from mine. I've seen a few of those, and at the end of my career, I saw fewer and fewer.
I saw it in the beginning of my career because I'm more observant of seeing like, oh, what do you do? What do you do? Because I'm tenured in. So
Yeah.
But I agree with you, Robert. I think it really makes you more of a humble person. Someone told me a long time ago was that you have over 100 students, give or take what we have, about 160, depending on the school
160 to
size.
180.
160 employees you cannot fire.
Oh, I haven't heard that one.
And you have to deal with their troubles, their daily issues every day at work.
Yeah.
And they're on the job because they're coming to school, and that's their job, that's their career. So you're like, so I have to deal with it. You're a chameleon. You flex all over the place. You have to deal with issues. Multitask. My wife tells me all the time, I don't know how you do it. I can't chew gum and walk at the same time, let alone talk to 16 kids that are standing in front of my desk every day. So.
Yeah. No, that's a good way to look at it. Employees. I know, and I'm sure you had this where you build a relationship with students, right? And they start to confide in you about other teachers. And I always try to make it a point, out of respect of my colleagues, right? I'm not going to join in. Yeah, you're right about so-and-so.
Right.
But I do say this because sometimes they'll be like, Mr. I like the way you do this, but there's this other teacher in this class, and man, I just can't handle the way they do things. I said, and they're like, I'm not getting anything out of this class. I said, oh, you're getting a lot. So what do you mean? I said, well, because when you get out in the real world, there are going to be more people like that than there are people like me who are trying to, align things to your teaching style, et cetera, or your learning style. And so there's an education in every teacher. You're not sure what that education is until you reflect. Would you agree with that statement?
Absolutely. There were a couple of years that I ran the PUP Center at Hanford High, which was the room where if a student got sent out of class, they got sent to me.
Okay.
So we would talk, I would talk, figure out what's going on. I would set up a meeting with that student and the teacher to, so that we could get things resolved and it wouldn't happen again. I remember one student in particular that had one teacher that it was the exact same situation. And I remember having that exact same conversation. This is the best teacher you're ever going to have because they're teaching you how to deal with something that you don't know how to deal with. And that's more valuable than learning how to factor a trinomial.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, that's a great way to put it. Right? Yeah, he's dropping knowledge. So, okay, so then you finish college, you're coaching, and now that's your first step into teaching. So, would you say in the beginning being a teacher was your way of getting into the coaching spot and then grew into something else, or did you always want to be a teacher?
No, I became a teacher because I wanted to be a coach.
Okay.
Yes. So at the high school level,
Yeah.
those two things went hand in hand. You couldn't do one without the other. So I was a walk-on coach while I was going to school.
So you went to Point Loma,
I went to Point Loma my freshman year
and then where
in
else?
San Diego. Then I came back to COS for 7 years, and then okay, maybe not quite that long. COS and then Fresno State. Long, uninteresting story there. I ended up going to National University to
National.
finally get the slip of paper. But for a number of years, I was teaching under an emergency credential while I was still going to school.
Oh, I did. I think we were all emergency credential, right?
Yeah, for 9 years.
Oh, nice.
Yes.
Yeah,
Stretched it
I
out.
didn't do it for that long.
Yeah. So I was teaching, coaching, and going to school for, I think, 7 of those years.
Okay. And okay, so then let's now get to the point where you are a full-time teacher at Hanford High.
Okay.
What was your subject?
Math.
So a math teacher at Hanford High. And you were coaching the boys or the girls at this point for basketball?
Girls basketball, and then I've coached other things on the side, but I was the head coach for girls basketball.
Okay, so I learned John Madden's story, the great Raider coach, a while back, and he went to my junior college, which is Allen Hancock College. So little Rob Life trivia here. Jim, I don't know if you knew this. In addition to his coaching of the football team at Allen Hancock College, which is his first college gig, he was also a PE teacher, and he taught ballroom dancing. Again, I would never know this if I hadn't gone to Hancock. So as everybody in Kings County knows you for your huge run as a basketball coach, we'll talk about that in a minute, but what were some of the surprising side gigs you had that people may not associate with you?
Lots of folks don't know that I ran the Campus Life group.
Campus Life. Now, for those who aren't familiar with Campus Life, what is that program about?
It's a Christian organization. It's not under the direction of the school, but we were on campus at the school. So I'd get on campus to meet kids and just make connections. We had weekly meetings in students' houses, the students that were
Oh,
involved.
wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah. We would go to their house, and actually we ended up, the first meeting I ran, we had 2 students there. We ended up having a problem with finding houses that were big enough. Our big kickoff event, we had over 120 the last couple of years.
Wow.
And then our meetings were running 70 or 80 a week.
That's impressive. Now, what would you use for your meetings on campus? Classrooms or cafeteria? Or
No,
was there...
I was just on campus. We didn't have meetings
Okay,
on
so
campus.
on campus you made a connection. The actual meetings were off campus.
Correct.
Okay, so the way it's structured at my school right now is that once a week we bring in pizzas. The Campus Life crew brings in pizzas, and the kids hang out in my classroom and eat pizza and talk and get to know each other. I didn't realize there was another component where you meet off campus, but that's really cool. 120, wow.
We did a big, either a banana split, 100-foot long banana split, or a, I think we always did the banana split. Yeah, 100-foot long banana split. So all the kids showed up, we made it, and
Just
then
passed out spoons?
everybody got to eat it. Yeah.
That'd be cool. Okay, so let's get to the coaching part. This is the part that really shocked me. So viewers, little background. Yeah, I don't even know if Jim knows this story, but I met Mr. TUBBS because he'd sign all his he had these emails he'd send out, newsletters, announcements, and it went out to the entire district, our school, Hanford West and Hanford High, which you were at. And you were the CTA president at the time. And you sent out information, and one particular newsletter you sent out, you said, hey, we're looking for teachers to come out and be callers. And so we'd go to this facility in Visalia, which is like the CTA headquarters or something, and make phone calls to other teachers. Hey, make sure you vote. We got some important, things happening. And so I went. I'm not sure exactly what it was because I've never done anything like that. But that day I go, and you said, hey, we can drive down there together. Just meet me at Hanford High parking lot, whatever. So I drive along with you. And on the way over there, it was more like, okay, so what are we doing and how does this work? And I was kind of anxious to the whole thing. But on the way back, curiosity kicked in. I started talking to you and asking you and find out that you had this illustrious career, Hall of Fame career as a high school girls basketball coach. And some of the stories you shared on the way home, it was like a movie. So I'm going to do my best to try to recreate that movie because there was victory, there was some personal loss. I don't know if you recall that, and that stayed with me. That whole I remember getting dropped off that day. I'm like, man, there's a lot more to people if you just take the time to talk to them, right?
Say that again.
There's a lot more to people if you just take the time.
Yeah, that's valuable right
Talk
there.
to them.
Absolutely.
So I'll start from the beginning. I asked you for I said, oh, I didn't know you coached before, and you were like, yeah, I coach. So talk to us about the beginning of your coaching career in terms of who your mentors were and what kind of philosophies you took on as a coach.
Was on the Hanford High campus for Campus Life. Asked Walt Parker if I could help him coach the girls basketball team just to give me an avenue to be on campus. And Walt Parker, the wonderful man that he was, I miss him so much, said absolutely, and brought me on as an assistant coach to the girls basketball. Did that for 2 years, and then he was wanting to retire. He was the first coach that we had when we started the girls basketball at Hanford High.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So when did the program start?
My freshman
80?
year, 1976.
Okay.
Yes.
So that was prior to that. There was no girls basketball program.
Correct. Yeah.
So he was the first and only coach, and you were the second.
Yes.
What did you pull away from him, like hanging out with him, practices, halftime speeches? What would you say you walked away with from him?
He was a man that cared. That's the number one thing. He was a man that cared. You could trust what he said. He was an honest man. He was a good man. He cared about people. Had a ton of knowledge. He had his master's in math. I don't know if anybody knew that.
No.
Yeah, he was just a good quality man. I just enjoyed being around him.
Do you feel like you adopted a lot of his approaches to the game, or brought your own flavor to it?
As far as X's and O's on the game, no, we're very different as far as X's and O's are concerned.
But on the people side?
On the people side, yeah.
And what I hear you saying, and I'm going to mess this up, Jim, jump in. The saying about teaching, right? They don't care what you know until they know that you care. Did I say it right? Mm-hmm. Right.
They don't care how much you know until
Yeah.
they know how much you care. Yeah,
Then that's the same for coaching. It sounds like that was his approach.
absolutely.
So
you've sort of started this on and mentioned the wins that we had, and we were fortunate to have a bunch of those.
yeah,
But for me, the biggest wins are my players that 40 years later are still best friends, and that was started as basketball players. And my
they
players
still hang out.
Yes,
Oh,
yes,
wow.
and they're godparents to each other's children, and the players that I've reconnected with and stayed in touch with, those are the wins.
Yeah, I know you totally. And I'm assuming that when you see players out and about, it's still, hey, what's up, coach? You're still coach.
I tell people all the time, my goal was to coach long enough that when I retired, people would still call me coach.
And that's what it
Yes.
is, right?
Yes.
It's the, hey, what's up, coach? And, okay, so what was it like that first season when Walt steps down and now it's your team?
Well, Walt's last year, the team was predominantly sophomores. I think there
Oh, it was
was
a young
one or
team.
two, yes, Valley champions,
As sophomores.
sophomores. He steps down. Okay, this is Walt Parker. He knew I wanted to be the basketball coach. He was ready to step down. He stayed on so that I could have 2 years as the JV head coach, so I could have some head coaching experience on my resume to make it
Wow.
more likely that I would get the spot.
He did that for you.
He did, and that worked out, and I got the spot. And then when I was ready to get my teaching credential, he was ready to retire the year before. He said, "You want to know something? I'll stay around another year so that when I retire, there'll be a math vacancy for you."
Man,
That was Walt Parker.
wow.
I love that man. Yes. So, yeah, big, yes. He was, and he was at, that's why I've said for years that the trophy for the Hanford High, Hanford West football game or whatever should be called the Walt Parker Memorial Trophy, because he taught at West Campus, but it was Hanford High at the time. So he's got that overlap of both. And so, yes, there should be a recognition of.
Is there anything that recognizes him currently?
Well, they had the Dog Bowl trophy.
Okay. And that's
right. And they gave the Dog Bowl, and I was call it the Dog Bowl, but call it the Walt Parker Trophy.
I see.
Right. And
Yeah.
they don't play the Dog Bowl anymore, but they need to do something. So I stepped in my those girls predominantly junior year. They had already won Valley.
And what year were you? This is 1980.
I've never been good with numbers.
Was it in the 80s?
Yeah, it would have been
Pac-Man
88.
Okay, so 88 you take over.
Yeah, I think so. 87,
from
88.
87, 88 till when? Like how many years did you?
2001.
Wow. So what's the math on that, Jim?
Should have been 14 years
14 years.
as the head coach.
So they win Valley, you take over, and you're like, okay, I got to make sure that, I keep this going. What was your biggest challenge as a coach early on?
To get ready to compete at the state level.
Oh, okay.
Because I had those girls coming back. I knew we could compete at the Valley level.
Yeah.
So I upped our schedule immediately, scheduled a tournament in Santa Barbara, the Nike Tournament of Champions, which was the premier tournament in the nation.
Does it still exist?
Oh, it does. It moved to Chicago, and now I think it's in Phoenix. But yeah, it's the premier high school girls basketball tournament. And I remember sitting there at our last game. We had won one game, lost 3, got beat pretty badly in those 3. I mean, we're playing against people like Lisa Leslie, who's
really?
we played against
Olympian
Lisa. Yes, we played against Lisa and Marion Jones, who played at North Carolina, the Olympic. We played against all those.
Wow.
And I'm sitting there thinking, okay, we need to up our schedule, but this is too much. We're not ready for this step. We're getting our butts kicked. That game finishes. We're leaving the gym to go home. Lynn Locker, the tournament director, comes over and says, Dwayne, I know you guys got beat pretty handily, but your girls play hard, and I think you're going to get better. Do you want to come back next year? And I was like, yes, we want. And I couldn't help myself, and we did. So, we went to that tournament.
That was your first year?
That was my first year.
Wow.
Yes.
Okay, and how did that season end up for you guys?
We were Valley champions.
Now, Valley Championship back in the day, did it all end at Selland Arena? Is that
no?
Where would you have your championship games?
We couldn't play, so you had to pick a venue that wasn't your home. So if we were the top seed, we got to pick a venue. So that one probably would have been at Mount Whitney.
Oh,
because we needed a
neutral
place
site.
A neutral site, but the home team got to pick it.
All right. And did you have a strong following? Like, does Hanford travel well back in the day?
Oh, absolutely. If the ball is round, Hanford loves it.
They're there.
Yes.
That's a lot. That's true for a lot of Valley communities, right?
Yeah.
Jim, do you feel like Arosi was like a sports crazed community? Did you feel like supported
soccer and baseball? I think because the community itself was involved in it, but football and basketball, I think, was just kind of
not so much.
There, yeah.
Well,
especially baseball. Baseball was really well known. We had a lot of really
I remember
athletes,
that.
Yeah.
I remember trying to compete against some of those guys. Okay, so now you've got your team. Do you have any? And I know this is like asking who's your favorite kid, but do you have any specific players that just kind of stood out to you in terms of relationship that you connected on such a level that it stands out to you?
Had one year where we lost a player to a car accident halfway through the season.
Oh, wow.
That team, that team, and we had to just to survive, because that was, I mean, that's just devastating.
Was
So
it
if
was it like, not that it is any less, but was it during the middle of a season? Was it the off season when you lost
it
this
was
player?
no, it was halfway through the league season. We had
Oh.
played Lemoore on Friday, which was the end of the first round,
Yeah,
and then it was that weekend, Super Bowl weekend.
and
And her and a friend that wasn't on the team,
they both
were-
passed.
yeah, both passed. So
Did you have to give the news to the team, or did you guys all find out together?
my assistant coach, my JV coach, who was one of my former players, called and gave me a heads up. When I confirmed it, we brought the team over to my house, and my wife and I and my dad had the team there. So they were there. I think a few of them left because they had some other places to get support, but we were there for the team. And then I remember I went down to the hospital to meet with the parents just to find out.
This was pre social media too, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So your word is need to be valid and golden.
Right.
This is the 90s when
Yeah.
this happening. Now, was your because I remember going to my coach's house and watching game film, right? Was this like a communal place, the TUBBS home, where players gathered and meals were had? And
No, I had a parent on the team that parents did that. So there was one parent that started it with my first team.
the team meals?
Team meals on game day.
I feel like that's so important.
Huge, because nobody else did it at the time.
Oh, okay. Oh,
So it absolutely made a difference on the team, and made a difference in that situation.
yeah.
But I remember we were getting ready for our next game, and we talked about if we were going to play or not. And the team said, no, we want to play. We want to do this for her. And I had one player on the team that was like, she came to me later and she goes, Coach, no, I don't get this. We shouldn't be playing. I don't want to play.
Yeah.
And I said, that not a problem. No pressure. Don't play. I don't want you to play if you don't want to. It's, but you can come and sit on the bench if you don't want to be there. She goes, no, I want to be with the team. So,
Yeah.
not a problem. She was a starter. So she's not playing. She's sitting on the bench, and we're in the game for like a couple of minutes, and she taps me on the leg and she goes, Coach, I want to go in. But
Yeah,
you
man.
talk about the community following.
Yeah.
The community was there behind our bench that night. It was, yeah.
I think it's moments like that where we start, because some of us get it right away, but others don't understand the value of sports beyond just the winning and losing, right? And I feel like it's moments like this where tragedy strikes, and you have this kind of already built family outside
Support
of
structure,
yeah,
yes.
support structure, and you start to value that. My personal experience, it was 2020 Halloween, and we had a travel ball baseball team, and we lost our coach that morning, early morning. He was at a party and he was shot there in Hanford at these apartments, and there was 3 coaches, and his son was on the team. And what I find interesting, and this kind of relates to what you just shared, is that we all respond to loss differently. Some of us, we want nothing to do with the sport because it reminds us of the loss, and we just need time away. Others, we need it even more because it's our only connection left to that person or the memory, or it gives us that level of comfort or distraction that we may need because the pain level is so deep. And I'll never forget this. This coach passed away. His wife was by his side when he was shot. His son was on the team, right? So this happened at like 3 a.m., pronounced dead by 3:30 a.m., hospital, the whole thing, cops. By 10 a.m., we have our first game. We don't expect to see that player or his family. And so we played the first game, moment of silence. The second game, I'll never forget, the mom, the daughters, the younger son, and the player showed up in uniform. And we were all thinking the same thing, like, how can he play at a time like this? And in that moment, I understood that that was his way of honoring his father and asking the most painful question. And you know, Jim, I don't know if you've asked this when you've had loss, because I know you lost your father, but what would my father want me to do in this moment? What I think he'd want me to play, you know?
Right.
And putting what you think they would want above your own personal thing that's happening in that moment. And I find that very powerful when it comes to sports, is that communal act of doing something that we love and we're passionate about together, and how it can get us through some of these difficult times.
Absolutely.
And I don't mean to pile on you, but I just think it's an important story. I believe the name was Pokey.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about that player and who what she meant to you?
So basketball-wise, for those that don't know, she was 6'5". She was a high school All-American. She played in the McDonald's All-American game in Connecticut. From Hanford.
Wow.
Had an undiagnosed learning disability, so getting into college had to work some things out. Joan Bonvincini at University of Arizona really followed through for her, and she ended up going to Arizona. Set all kinds of records there. She was tremendously successful at the college level.
Did WNBA exist at that time?
Yes. She was expected to be a top 5 pick in the WNBA, at least the first round. But and I'm not sure where I got that from, so don't quote me. But yeah, she'd be a top 5 pick in the WNBA is what they were expecting.
What year was this when she was with you?
She graduated in 2001. She was on that last team that I coached.
Is that the team that won state championship?
Yes.
So you won how many? You won multiple Valley championships and a state championship.
Correct.
Wow. And I want to get back to her, but achieving something on that level, a state championship, what is that even like for a team to go an entire season and end at that's as far as you can go? I've never been on a team that's gone as far as you can go.
Yeah, there aren't very many teams that win their last game of the season.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How does that feel like?
And that was special, and that was awesome. Actually had some girls on that team that were a little disappointed in the season because we only finished number 3 in the nation.
Wow.
And had a chance to
3 in the nation.
Yeah. According to USA Today, there was another poll that had us at number 2.
Wow.
But,
I would have loved to seen that team play. You have any film?
Yeah, we have film. Absolutely.
Is that on YouTube? I want to see this team in action.
I don't know of any of it that's posted, but that could be done.
Wow, that'd be great.
But we lost to the team that won the national championship twice by 3 points.
Oh.
And when we won the state, if they had been upset, because we were in different divisions in the state playoffs, if they had been upset in the state playoffs by Berkeley, we would have been national champions.
So this was a California team?
Yes, this was a California team. Because we had beaten Berkeley by 20-some earlier in the year. And Berkeley lost to them by 3 points. So,
wow.
Yeah.
That's an amazing season.
It was. That's a once in a lifetime team, and then only if it's a really, really good lifetime. Yes, I was very fortunate.
Did you know early on in that season that this could be the team?
I had plans for that when they came in as freshmen. I had a rule that freshmen couldn't play varsity. We were split campuses at the time, Hanford West, Hanford High.
Yeah.
So freshmen wouldn't spend the day with most of their teammates. So that was my rule. We had 4 girls that came in that year that were all D1 players.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm telling you, I was in the right place at the right time. I was very fortunate. I broke my rule. Freshmen played varsity, and we went to the Valley Finals with the freshmen because they were Pokey Amy Parrish, who had a stellar career at Fresno State, originally signed with Oregon. She was phenomenal. Jenny Thigpen, who's a head coach now in Northern California. She went to Arizona State, came back. Tara Chenault was one of the toughest people I've ever met in my life. It was
Chenault. I know that last name. Is
Uh,
it CH?
yes.
Connor Chenault went to our
um,
school.
They're related.
his
Chenault
father-
at Hanford West is is an uncle.
Okay, wow.
Yeah.
Small world.
Yeah,
So-
it is a small world, but I wouldn't want to paint it.
So you have this team from freshman to senior year, and what was Pokey's real name? Or
Chantanise Polk.
Chantanise Polk. And then
Hated Chantanise.
did you come up with that nickname?
No, she was Pokey before she got
They-
to Hanford High.
Pokey. Okay, and so you had these girls throughout those years, and I'm sure you guys got really close. And then you win a state championship. Then they all move on to different colleges, as you just said, and then tragedy strikes. Can you elaborate a little bit on that?
Yeah, I don't know if that can be elaborated on. I remember being in my classroom, and the principal came and brought another teacher and said, this teacher's going to cover your classroom. Come with me. And I remember thinking that, okay, the only time this happens is when somebody's in trouble, right? They pull you out of a classroom like that.
Oh, so you thought you might be in trouble?
Yeah, I thought somebody,
so
and
you
I
had
was
no idea.
no idea. It had come over on the news wires. So the principal calls me into the office, and I don't really know how to tell you this except to tell you. And I'm still stunned. The levels of grief start with shock, and I don't know if I've ever gotten past that with that one. Went to Arizona for the service there. University of Arizona did a service, and then the University of Arizona got special permission from the NCAA, but they flew out their team and their administration. The athletic director, the university president, came to Hanford for a service for her at Hanford. And I remember one of the things I said when I spoke there was that it took somebody as big as Pokey to make Tucson and Hanford sister cities. And
Wow.
yeah.
So she passed in, was that 2003?
I think it was 2005. I'm horrible with years.
So
but
she got
it
to
would have been
play a few
about
years
then.
of college.
She was getting ready for her senior year.
Oh.
Yes, and it was very rare. It was a blood clot that passed up to her heart, which somebody as fit as she was, as young as she was, very rare. She had had a surgery that might increase the odds, but it was, not expected.
Wow.
Yeah.
And okay, and so at that point, were you still in coaching, or you
No,
already
her senior year in high school
was your last?
was my
year?
last year in
Okay.
coaching.
Like you said, you've never really moved on the shock. It's
Yeah, anytime I talk about it, there's still that level of shock and
I can't believe that. Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, man. So
Did her passing kind of reiterate that you wanted to retire by then now, or was that nothing to do with you knowing you were going to quit?
No, I retired after that 2001 year.
she
Her
passed.
senior year, she passed in 2005.
So she passed 4 years.
I retired
later.
from coaching.
Oh,
Yeah.
I see. Yeah.
Yeah, not teaching.
When did you know that it was time to walk away? Like how'd you come to that conclusion?
From coaching?
Yeah.
That last year, we had a student finance clerk that wanted to be the ASB director. So I was going to put my name on it because you have to have a teacher in that position. Put my name on it, and she was going to be the ASB. She was going to do all the work. That would give me an extra free period
Okay.
to get stuff done. She ended up getting a great job opportunity and left early in the year. So
Oh.
the principal said, "Hey, guess what? You are the ASB director."
Wow. Oh, so you're an ASB director? ASB
Yeah.
director? Oh, you guys speak the same language.
And I was the assistant athletic director, and the athletic director was going to do most of the work. Again, a case of where it would give me some free time to because they knew what basketball was going to be like.
Yeah.
Well, the superintendent told the athletic director, I want you up in the front office. Let DWAYNE do the athletic director stuff.
Oh.
So activities director, athletic director, still had my full math schedule and coached the basketball team. So at the beginning of that year, I weighed 230 pounds. At the beginning of basketball season in November, I weighed 230. At the end of that basketball season, I weighed 180.
Oh my! I can't even imagine.
You did both activity and athletic director?
And teaching and coaching basketball.
And this was the year that you did the state run.
This was the year for the state run. So all of Pokey's recruiting, I went on her recruiting trips with her. All of the home visits we did at our house because she didn't have those resources.
Oh.
So yeah, we had all of that going on. So at the end of the year, there really wasn't much question that I was, it was.
That is insane. I think you're a first because I've never heard of doing that.
Athletic director. So you had to schedule all the games and.
Schedules had pretty much been done. It was mostly the paperwork, transportation officials.
Yeah.
If we had coaches that quit during the season.
That's a lot. That's
I guess
still
for
a
the
lot.
spring sports, there would be some scheduling that was done. And the athletic director wasn't completely out of the picture. And he did as much as the superintendent would let him do to help out. So
You had some help.
Yeah.
Still, that's a crazy year. And
I remember looking forward to Saturday and Sunday because I only worked 8 hours on Saturdays and Sundays. Yeah, so I really enjoyed the weekends.
Oh man.
No, I feel you. I did activities for 9 years, and there's no way I could see doing both. And teach.
And taught. Yeah, I had my math classes too.
Nope. Sorry.
Yeah.
No
Good job.
sleep. There's no sleep there. When back in that time, now we do the state championship at the Golden One Center. Where was state championship back then? Did the team just host? Or?
Arco Arena.
Arco Arena. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. It's still Sacramento.
Yes.
That's cool to play in a.
The Southern Cal Finals were at the Great Western Forum.
Nice. So that means you were in those locker rooms.
Yes, we were in those locker rooms.
Oh man, for a Laker fan, you're a Laker fan, right? That is really cool to be able to see that. Didn't you work for the Sacramento Kings at one point?
No, I worked for Univision, who covered the Sacramento Kings. So we would cover the games. Yeah.
That's right.
Walking through those back rooms and all the cars.
That's what I want to see. I want to see the back rooms and
it was cool.
They have game rooms like this for the teams or the rec room?
Yeah, we didn't see those.
No?
If they have them, we saw the locker rooms.
It was more like locker rooms and hallways. They would bring the cars, the
I always
players'
picture
cars.
food catering like laying
There
around.
is, there's tons of catering food for the players and then the media. We were in there,
Yeah,
and that's one of the stories I was going to tell you. Was we went in when I was covering the Kings. Who were they playing? I think it was Jazz, and I was in there, and the media gets to go in with celebrities that were there watching the game and stuff, the VIP. And Kareem Abdul-Jabbar comes in, and he's getting a fountain drink right next to me, and really cool, nice. Talked to him for a little bit, and I met several celebrities on those games. But yeah, it was really cool.
I love to hear the backstage, the green room, the locker room stories. So, getting back to life after coaching,
Mm-hmm.
that's when you started to get involved in CTA. Or was that prior to that?
It is. Two things I took up. One, I got my pilot's license,
Whoa.
just for fun.
You fly?
Haven't flown for a while, but yeah, I've got a pilot. Just the little puddle jumpers, the little 2 and 4 seat.
So what's your first? This I always ask you. Your first solo flight. No one else in there, and you've got to fly and land this thing. I mean, is it nerve wracking? Because it's different than driving.
If my instructor weren't so good, I might have been nervous, but no, my instructor had me.
So you were good.
It was the same thing I had done 100 times with.
So it's reading
with my
gauges.
instructor.
It's
Scanning the gauges, a little T-scan on the gauges. And if
what's
things,
the thing? Is it
the
this?
yoke?
Like that one? There. Oh wait, we can't see.
No, that's a steering wheel. The yoke is
It's got two.
more
on
like
the
the
end.
race car
Okay.
because it's got a little button on it that you have to push to talk.
Wow. That's fascinating.
It's
So
a
you can-
load of
so
fun.
you
I
can
miss
fl-
it.
So you have a pilot's license.
I do.
Does it look like a driver's license? Like a little card you pull out?
Yeah. It does. It doesn't have the picture and the name on it. It's Orville and Wilbur Wright on there and a plane.
Really?
It's more artistic than
Nice.
a driver's license.
Okay, so Wow. So you got
So-
the pilot's license.
I did that, and then I got involved with CTA.
What compelled you to take on the CTA?
Somebody asked me,
Did you say, hey, we need somebody?
need a site rep. I believe it was Ellie Payoyo, teacher at Hanford High.
And you took that on for how many years?
No clue, because I was a site rep for a long time, and then became vice president for Hanford High, and then the president for the HSEA for the district. I know that was 6 years.
Okay. That's where I met you.
Yes.
Because every year, Jim, I don't know if you ever went to this, but every year in Visalia, or is that just for Tulare and Kings County?
That's Tulare Kings.
Yeah, we meet at there's a hotel, and they have a guest speaker, and they do a dinner and a raffle and stuff. And so every year it's sponsored by CTA, and I always remember this, like, hey, if you reserve, you got to show up, or you got to pay $40 for your plate if you miss, right? I always remember that. And I believe that's the first time I met you. We were at a round table, we were having the dinner, and then the speaker was out there.
Do you remember who the speaker was?
Was that one Teach Like a Pirate?
Oh, okay. We had the Teach Like a Pirate.
Remember
He
that
was
guy?
good.
I bought the book.
Yeah.
This last year it was Shelton, NFL player.
Oh, okay.
And I still follow him on Instagram. I can't remember his first name. Trent Shelton.
Okay.
And he was great as well. Yeah, every speaker, I've always been happy with the speakers.
Oh, they had one that was the inspiration for freedom writers.
Oh,
the
I
old
heard
movie.
about that.
Yeah.
I didn't go to that one, but I heard about that.
She told stories that were so much more than the movie covered. I don't know why the movie didn't. She ended up taking her kids from the inner city, gang-riddled English class, no textbooks. She ended up taking them to Anne Frank's house.
What?
Yeah, they talked about the trials that they go through.
Yeah.
The people they've had that have been killed.
She took a whole class to Amsterdam
Yeah, she took yes,
from Long Beach.
yes,
Wow.
yeah. She was.
That is yeah, no, she deserved the movie. That's
Yeah,
for sure.
absolutely. So those are the kind of speakers that CTA brought in. They were.
Yeah, no,
always
I
enjoyed
love.
that kickoff dinner.
Really appreciate CTA and everything they've offered. Shout out to CTA. Thank you guys for being who you are, and thank you for that. So then you get into CTA. You also now you're ASB director, right? Is this something that you took on after coaching, or was it just a 1 year?
No, I did it for a few years after that. So yes, I took it on that last year. I think it was the last year, and then I did it for a few years after that. Actually, that was going to be where I was going to put my focus after getting out of the coaching.
Okay.
So I was going to focus on that, but I ended up getting removed from that position.
And really,
Yeah.
So what do you feel like your main focus became after coaching up until retirement? Was it the math class? Was it the campus life? Was it CTA, or a combination of all of those things?
Well, actually, I had given up campus life, interesting enough, to when the coaching got big. So
Oh,
the
I
campus
see.
life got me into the coaching, and then the coaching got me out of campus
Well,
life.
coaching is like an all-consuming.
Yes, it is. When I first got out of coaching, the focus was on ASB. When I got removed from the ASB position, I think the focus was CTA. Is the chronology on that?
Okay. Oh, I see. I see. So yeah, I can read between the lines on that one. You want to do something about what's happening, right? So
No, it was no. That way, it was not.
no,
No.
Oh, I was thinking
No, it was more a case of Barnes, who had been our president forever, who did a magnificent job.
Kristen?
Yes,
she's still
yes. One of my former players.
no.
Yeah, she was on that Walt
Oh,
Parker. She was on that
okay.
Walt Parker team.
I'm gonna pick her brain when I see her because
Oh.
she's always at those dinners at the beginning of the year.
Yes, she was huge in CTA. She was our president for forever.
Wow.
Before then, so that was going to be a big spot to fill, and I thought that I'd be able to help out.
And you did
So
big time.
hopefully,
Okay, so now you get to the end of your teaching career. When did you? Because this is classic, right, Jim? You probably said at your school, one more year, guys, and then one more year. When did you finally what was it that made you decide, hey, this is really the year I'm done? Was it just time? Did you just feel it was the right time? Was there anything that kind of helped make that decision permanent?
my wife had retired. She was a teacher also, elementary school. She had retired the year before, And I knew I wanted to retire early enough that we could still enjoy doing.
Spend some time together.
Yeah, spend some time together.
Wait, let me go back real quick.
Sure.
How did you meet your wife?
Blind date.
Blind date.
Blind date.
How old were you guys?
I was 28, so it was late.
And who set this up? Who saw this coming together?
So she lived in Long Beach. She went to the church that my brother started attending. My brother married a friend of hers.
Okay.
They met 3 months later. They were married. 4 days out, because they got married on Christmas Day. That New Year's Eve, we had a blind date. My family used to go over to the coast, Oceano, to the Melodrama. Our first blind date was a weekend at the Melodrama with my family.
Wow.
My wife is the bravest woman I have ever
I
met.
know. No pressure.
Yeah, no pressure.
It's a whole weekend. Let's see how it goes.
Yep. So I didn't tell her, but I came home from that weekend and told my assistant coach, I'm going to marry her.
You knew right then.
Yeah. I knew before the date was over.
Well, okay, so I've always been fascinated by this, like knowing so much. Was it a chemistry thing? Was it a feeling? Was it something she said? What made you feel so confident in that
It was a
decision?
chemistry thing. There wasn't any specific thing. It wasn't.
Just how you felt around each other. Did you know right
Yeah.
away, Jim?
No,
It took some time, right?
it took time. Yeah. So
As,
you got to feel them out. You got to, you
As a-
just can't jump right in.
as a matter of fact, didn't you say you guys were on a double date with other people?
Yeah, I actually went on a double date with her and her previous boyfriend at the time. Yeah.
And how much time passed between?
Oh, it was years. Yeah. So
Wasn't like next week or anything.
no,
Okay.
that would have been really weird.
Wasn't later that night.
Yeah, I didn't lean over saying I'm going to marry you someday. Just by the way. No.
But we got to get that story on camera
that's
someday.
funny.
I don't know, but we got to have Leslie here for that.
Yeah.
We need both sides.
Yeah, good luck with that one. Yeah.
So you met your wife on that weekend.
Mhm.
You came home and said, I'm going to marry this person.
Only
And-
person I told was my assistant coach.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Not the family, anyone else?
No.
Did they do the follow-up like, hey, what'd you think, Dwayne? Or
No, not too bad. I was 28 at the time. They had sort of given up on. they were like, yeah, whatever. Who knows what he's going to do.
you're in the old maid drawer.
Yeah.
You know, he's-
But what I told everybody was, by the end of this year, I'm going to be on my way to being an uncle. So what everybody assumed was I was saying one of my brothers and their wives were going to have a child, be pregnant by the end of the year.
Oh, I see.
And that's not what I was saying. I was saying I was going to be engaged by the end of the year, and I was.
Wow. And have you I'm sure you've gotten her side of the story.
She was much slower.
After that first weekend, she's like, I don't
Oh
know.
no, she knew she liked me. It wasn't.
But it wasn't like what you.
But she was. She was just real slow. She didn't,
right.
she didn't want to say I love you if she would ever have to take it back, because she didn't want to do that to somebody. That's the kind of person my wife is.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
that's
So,
definitely keep.
So you're still waiting? How long?
no, as a matter of fact, last week.
Oh,
it was,
okay. There you go. All right, that's sweet.
You finally got one. Wait, do you have kids?
Do not.
Okay, so you met her. 2 days later, and then how much further down the road do you actually get married? Is it like months?
Year and a half
Year and a half
to the day.
Wow. And then been together ever since.
Been together ever since.
Wow.
Well, I mean, there have been times that she'd go to work and I'd go to work, so we haven't actually
Oh,
been
my God.
together for 32 years, but
Most of that.
yeah,
Most of
most of it.
So, was she already in education at that time?
She was a teacher at the private school at her church down in Long Beach, so she was pulling in big bucks.
So you brought her from Long Beach to Hanford.
Yes,
That's love. That's love.
that is love.
I only know
yes.
one other person who's done that. Darren Parson.
Really, and where was
Yeah.
his wife?
She
Before
was
you
in
know.
Hanford. He was in Long Beach. He was at
okay.
what's the Jackrabbits? The pretty famous high school. Not Poly. Not Cal Poly, but Poly something. Poly High. There in Long Beach. And I know this because he was on stage talking about it at Koinonia when I first went there. And he said, I took a leap of faith and I met this wonderful woman and she says, let's go to Hanford. And so he moved from Long Beach to Hanford.
Gotcha. Wow.
Yeah, so he's got if he talked to your wife, it was the same journey.
Yeah. I almost lost her the first time.
What?
I almost lost her the first time she came up here to visit and went by the dairy for the first time. Because growing up in Long Beach, that was new to her. And she
Yeah.
was like, what is this?
Yeah. No.
And yeah.
It's the city girl coming to the country. Yeah, we all have that. My wife is from Los Angeles, the San Fernando Valley. And so the first time I brought her home, same is pretty extreme. Like, oh, these are smells that we just don't. We have sewer rats, but this is a next level smell.
Yeah.
It's all consuming. Do you ever think about the people that live like on the dairy? Like it becomes the
You get nose blind.
Yeah, nose blind. You don't need it. But yeah, that's something else. And she was like, I don't know, TUBBS.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But she had a credential, so she could move up here. I didn't have a credential yet, so I could work at Hanford High.
Yeah.
Because they had made arrangements, but I couldn't move down there. So
Were you married in Hanford or in Long Beach?
Long Beach.
So you married there, and
Yes.
then what did her family say when they first came to visit? Where are you bringing my daughter?
Her dad is it was the old school. Girls have to be married, right? That whole paradigm. She was older and wasn't married, so he just wanted her to be married. He was like, "No, you got to go." So he was excited that she found somebody that she loved and loved her.
Good.
Yeah.
I don't care where he's at. Yeah.
Exactly.
You're gonna deal with them cows. Okay?
Yes.
We're gonna make this happen. So then getting back to retirement, you were done, and then you're like voiceover actor, or was that something that slowly developed?
No, I had thought about it before. I didn't want to retire and
Not having
sit around. So,
Yeah. No, I hear, and Jim, have you heard this one that if you retire and you're not active or have some sort of thing that you go pretty early? Have you heard that?
Yes.
You heard
Yep.
that one, Jim?
Yeah, my dad.
Your dad?
Yeah, as soon as he retired, it was like 6-7 years later, he was done. Yeah. And
Wow.
they're not used to that routine, that rhythm. And yeah, I'm like, pick up a hobby, do something.
Yeah.
You got to have something going.
So that's real. And so for you, voice acting was, and did somebody, it seems like everybody throws things at you, say, hey, you should try this, or how did you come up with this idea?
Had helped with the drama department at Hanford High, so I had directed a couple of plays and helped with musicals.
Is there anything you in basketball? ASB?
Administration.
Wow.
I looked at administration when I retired from coaching and said, I'm glad there are people that want to do that, but I am not one of them. So yes,
That was
there
the
is.
only thing you didn't do. I heard he painted the side of the gym too. Like he was right. Did you do? He did every handyman. Served in the cafeteria. Okay. Sorry.
Okay. You want a confession that
Yes.
that
I want to hear it.
okay. I did paint the gym when I was in high school.
I was just joking.
The Hanford Lemoore rivalry got, it goes in waves.
Oh yeah.
And it was at a low spot. It was really, really ugly, and they were really cracking down. So we painted Lemoore's #1, Hanford's. We painted that on Hanford's gym,
Oh wow.
and Lemoore got busted big time. And they never caught the people that did it because it was us.
That was genius.
Yes. So I did paint the Hanford High gym. Yes.
So you did learn something from being set up as a freshman.
Evidently, I did.
I'm
Yes.
gonna go set somebody else up.
Evidently, yeah.
Oh man, and they got in trouble for it. That is beautiful. So so the voiceover thing started how?
I had helped with the drama, and I did that because I have no desire to be on stage.
I can see that. No, you look like you belong on stage. You've got the cool mustache. You got
I'm comfortable with it.
That's the newsboy hat. I love those hats. What are they called?
Newsboys.
I thought it was like Derby or something, or that's something else, huh?
No, I've got a derby at home. I have another derby.
What is a
mostly
Kerwood
fedoras.
Derby? I heard that somewhere. Or is that just a brand of a derby? You know that one, Jim?
Yeah, I think it's a brand. I have a derby inside too. And
Okay.
and a,
Nice.
Yeah, you have one.
I
of
have-
those.
I have
You're
all
right.
those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
That's called a newsie.
Newsboy.
Newsboy.
yeah.
So okay.
So I got into the directing because I could do all of those fun things in acting, create a character, be creative, all of those things. But don't have to stand up in front of people.
Yeah.
So when I retired, I was like, well, I could do some acting, but you know, if I do the voiceover, I get to do the same thing. You're in a booth, don't have to be in front of people.
And okay, and so how does it work? Like, is you
there
sending
anything-
an audition?
Is there anything out there? Sorry, Robert. Is there anything out there we would recognize that you've done?
Oh no, not yet.
Oh, okay.
I'm still grunting through getting
okay.
jobs.
Now, do you have an agent that helps you find work or auditions?
No,
Or?
I would like to pick up an agent. Haven't done that yet. For commercial work, right? The voiceover on commercials. A lot of that comes through agents, and I have a commercial demo on my website. I would do that if somebody offered me a job, but what I really want to do is e-learning. You know, those online sexual harassment things you have to.
Yeah.
If there's a voice behind those, they pay people to do those voices. So
okay.
any of the e-learning things, I would love to do that. My dream job is to narrate documentaries.
Yeah.
I would love that. So that you have to go out and get on yourself. You go find the production houses and say, hey, hire me.
So if I put together the documentary that I'm thinking of, London, you'll be the first guy we're going to talk to.
Absolutely.
About that.
Yes, I would love to do that.
When you say narrate documentary, immediately I think of Hard Knocks, HBO Hard Knocks, the documentary about NFL teams throughout the season.
Okay.
And that's, how do you say his name? Liev Schreiber, the actor. And it doesn't even sound like his acting voice. It's different.
Oh.
Now, do you have exercises, vocal warm-ups? How does this work for the voice?
If I'm going to do a long session in the booth, I'll do a warm-up.
Is it like Bumblebee, that kind of stuff?
Oh, you can do those. Actually, I was just listening to another podcast on the way in, and the warm-up I'm going to do is just with a straw. You speak through a straw.
Hold the straw up and
seal the lips, hold the straw. And what that does is forces air back down your throat. So I'm going to check that out when I get home. And then I've done other ones for enunciation. Put a cork between your teeth and read your piece that way, and then take the cork out. And it's amazing what a difference it makes.
like a wine bottle cork,
Exactly.
and then just talk through it with your teeth biting on it.
Uh-huh.
Oh wow.
We had reporters in my industry that they would have to have coaches come in and talk to them, and help them coach the enunciations, the wordings, and stuff like that. Yeah.
Well, I noticed with news, there is a pattern. The way that I say things has to be delivered in a certain tone. It's almost like a song.
When you need to know the words that you would exaggerate some of the enunciations.
But are they coached that way, or they just?
Yeah, some actually get it really quickly. Others, you could tell. Oh, yeah, they're in training. You could tell.
But you have to be in the songy.
Yeah.
You can't just be like, "Hey, what up, man? I'm here on this
Yeah.
corner here, and we just got this guy on the ground. We got an ambulance coming in a minute."
It is interesting hearing them as they go through the process, because it's you got to come out of that comfort shell of being able to talk like that. And, And trying to teach it to the kids, it's really hard too. Yeah.
I picture like what's Will Ferrell? What was that movie he had?
News anchor?
News-
Newsman?
Yeah, Is it Newsman?
Yeah, it's Anchorman.
Anchorman.
There you
Yeah.
go.
Right,
Yeah.
you know how-
I got a poster in my room. Yeah.
Have you seen? I love the part where, and I always picture like anchors doing this before they're on camera. It's like, woo, woo, woo. Well, Shelley had seashells by the seashore. Like, did they do that?
Yeah. No,
Did that really
they
happen?
don't do it that way. Yeah. No, that's
Remember?
all.
And he did a series of shrieks. So I can't wait to see some of your work. We're gonna put your website in the description
Oh, thank you very much.
because we want to make sure that we keep you moving. We want to keep you around for many years.
There you go.
I always like to end these interviews with some sort of valuable insight that you think you could share with others, because you've done a myriad of things throughout your life and been highly successful. You're the only one of 2 state championship coaches I've ever met. The other's Amy Bush, SB,
great
Golden
coach.
Bears, right?
Great coach. She's so good for kids.
Yeah.
She just stepped down, right?
Yeah.
And I knew that was coming soon.
I mean, it's
Man,
when I really like, and I'm sure you've had these moments too, where I really like, wow, she's serious. She's put a lot of work and thought into this. Was I would have some of her kids in my class, right? First period, and they'd come in, and they looked, like how you look kind of pumped after a game,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm like, well, where are you coming from? Practice? What? Well, yeah, because the gym's taken in the afternoon, so we go from 5 to 7. And I'm like, and the whole team shows up? They're like, yep. I can't get my kids out of the house before, like 8 a.m. And you've got somebody else's kids showing up at 5 a.m., 3 times a week, and then playing games. And
A skill that will last a lifetime, right? Getting up that early
yeah.
to do something that, right? That's
Work ethic.
yes.
And
Absolutely.
so I was like, oh, this one's special. And sure enough, right?
Yeah.
And so what could you impart upon individuals who maybe haven't had some of the amazing journeys you've gone through, like a state championship or a successful teaching career, the leadership stuff, or even this whole idea? I learned something from you today, which is going to probably change the way I do everything. Be ready, Jim. This idea that you can just enjoy something and it doesn't have to be taken as far as it can go, that you can find joy in that process. And I think me and Jim, we even have this not clash, but difference in philosophy, even about the podcast, right? What am I always saying? Hey, Jim, this got to go, man. We got to go all the way. And Jim's just like, hey, let's have fun.
Yeah.
Let's put some games in here. Let's get on the mic and enjoy our company. And I feel like I'm gonna ruin that again. We're gonna go all the way to the top.
So if your joy comes just from those things that you can take to the nth degree, look at all the other things in your life that you're missing out on the joy from.
Yeah.
Because you can't take everything
No, you're right.
to the final degree. So
No, you're right. Because the most fun I've had on this thing is with him.
there you go.
We play pool afterwards, or we
Yeah.
play one of his games. You set me up.
Nice.
I love it. He set me.
Good job, Jim.
I heard something, and thank you, Robert. I heard something from John Tesh a long time ago where he said the generations now will go on a trip, and I'm looking at like Europe on the screen right now, but the only memories they have are what they took with pictures from their phone. They don't remember the trip itself because they don't look beyond the device that they're using. And I started thinking about that, and I'm like, you start remembering only the things that you took pictures of and not the trip itself. So kind of think about that. Your trip of life is all around you, and if you're only focused on what's in front of you, you miss out on so much.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Nice.
Therapy with Tubbs and Chance today. Rob live getting transformed right before your eyes.
So can I share two things?
Oh, please do. I keep learning more and more.
So the first year that I got the JV girls basketball spot, Hanford High, JV girls, wanted to read John Wooden's book, Modern Practical Basketball. Everybody told me that was went down to UCLA bookstore. Wasn't on the shelf. Asked the lady behind the counter, might you have this in the back? She was like, no.
You went to the UCLA campus?
Yes.
No. Oh, no Amazon back then. No.
Correct.
You just had to go.
Yeah, oh, yeah. Yeah.
You're so lucky nowadays.
Talked to the lady behind the counter. She said, if it's not out there, we don't have it. Your best bet would just be call coach. That was my reaction. Thank you very much. I was like, no way. I'm not.
Call Coach John Wooden.
Yeah, call coach. He can take. This went back and forth for a while because I thought she was setting me up. Finally, she convinced me that I really should. So this is how long ago it was. Went outside, looked his phone number up in the phone book at a payphone. For you young kids, we'll explain later what a payphone is. He was listed.
This is crazy.
Absolutely. So I call him up. Coach, my name's DWAYNE TUBBS. I just got a job as a JV girls basketball coach in a little town called Hanford. He talked to me for 15 or 20 minutes.
So you spoke to John Wooden about basketball.
He asked me about my team. He didn't tell me, he didn't pontificate. he was asking me, what I had, what I thought I might run, what, how things might work. 15, 20 minutes on a payphone from somebody that just got a job as a JV girls basketball coach. If John Wooden, in my opinion, the greatest coach of all time.
Yeah, no.
If John Wooden has that time for me, I need to have that time for whoever, right? If I'm right, not only not on a high horse, that man doesn't even own a horse. So that story has always put things in perspective for me. What a class act! I would love to be a.
I can't believe you got on a payphone.
Yeah,
with John. This is
love to be
definitely going to be one of them shorts we put out there.
a
Wow.
small fraction of.
And he sat there and he answered the phone. He was the guy on the phone.
He answered the phone.
Wow.
At the UCLA Hall of Fame has his den that he spent a lot of time in. They moved the whole thing and set it up there. So my guess is he was sitting at that desk. So when I went through the Hall of Fame and saw that, I was like, he was probably sitting right there. And who knows? Kareem Abdul-Jabbar or Bill Walton might have been sitting on the couch there because
Who
they
you
came
talking
over
to,
and
Coach?
visited. Yeah, absolutely. So
Wow.
that's always kept things in perspective for me.
Yeah.
And then the other one you were asking about wisdom, that state championship team still had to play the local teams that were just physically, there was no match.
Yeah.
Right. And we knew we were going to win by whatever we wanted to. And I was okay, how do we do this? Because that can get,
How do we get amped up for this? Or-
yeah. And not so much amped up. Again, that's another story from John Wooden. But what I told them that year over and over again, and this has become a mantra for me, is that where you are is not as important as what direction you're going. You can be right next to your goal, but if you're going the wrong direction, you're never going to get there. You can be miles away from your goal, but if you're going the right direction, you'll get there eventually. So when we played those teams that were completely overmatched, I don't care about the score. We're going to win. I don't care about the score. Are we better after the game? I told that to my students in my class a million times. I can't do math. I don't care where you are. What direction are you going? Can you do more math at the end of the period than you could at the beginning? Do you understand this a little bit better? If you do, sooner or later, you're going to get there. Same thing for me. That's become a mantra for me.
Well, I love
care where
that
I'm at.
because it puts the responsibility of improvement based on yourself and not the competition. You know,
Absolutely.
I don't need you
Yes.
to be better than them. I need you to be a better version of yourself. Oh, man.
100%. Yes. And it doesn't matter if you're better than the competition or if you're the overmatched team, right? If you're the team that's losing by 40,
Yeah.
I don't care. Are you better after the game than you were before? You get a chance to play against this great team. That's a chance to improve. So that's become a mantra for me.
Love that. Wow. Man, can we get some applause on that knowledge that was just dropped on us? Woo. The stock on Rob Live has risen just on that alone. Well, man, I can't thank you enough
My
for
pleasure.
coming in.
This has been awesome.
Mr. DWAYNE TUBBS. If you guys want to catch him, he has a website. I believe it's DWAYNETUBBS.com.
It is.
And if you want to see his voiceover work, if you're hiring out there, wonderful voice. I heard it personally right here.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
See that? I love that. So check him out. Also with Rob Live, Jim's a great mentor and coach. Always says, "Hey, you gotta keep reminding these guys. You gotta subscribe." This is Jim, like behind the scenes, because he's a numbers guy, right? He's like, "Dude, you got 900 views on this video, and 2 subscribers." So I'm asking you, please.
Come on, guys. Yeah, subscribe to the channel, please.
Yeah, so Jim doesn't yell at me. Well, you guys, if you view it and you've got something from it and you got some amazing knowledge like today with Coach Tubbs, please take the time to subscribe. And we'd love to see you again. We'll try to bring as much quality work as we can. Until next time, I'm Rob Live with love, peace, and chicken grease. We out. Oh, that was the best knowledge we've got.